Welcome to the Deep Dive. Key knowledge from interesting sources, stuff that you can actually use. And today, we're digging into something pretty relatable, I think. How to, make money from your hard work without needing a ton of cash up front.
Right. The idea is really about looking at business models where your effort, your labor is the main thing.
Yeah, our mission today is to explore these labor-intensive businesses and maybe find some surprisingly profitable angles based on the source we're looking at.
Exactly. Less about finding big investors, more about, rolling up your sleeves strategically. Let's see what the actual potential is in these spots people might overlook.
Okay, so the source kind of kicks things off by reminding us of those first jobs lots of us had, right? Like babysitting, mowing lawns.
Oh, yeah, definitely. My first was delivering papers, but same idea.
Right. And the source suggests these early gigs, these hustles, can actually be the foundation for like real adult income. It's all about businesses where your time and effort, that sweat equity, is the main investment, not a big bankroll.
That's the core concept. Your dedication pays off directly.
Okay, so let's jump in. First example they use is pet sitting.
Yeah, pet sitting. It's a great way to illustrate starting small and growing gradually.
How so?
Well, you can start really simply. Maybe just people you know, friends, neighbors. Get some basic business cards made up super cheap these days and let word of mouth do its thing.
Right. Low barrier to entry, built on trust.
Trust and reliability, exactly. That's key.
And the source suggests it can scale up quite nicely.
Oh, definitely. They give this example. Say you have 8 to 10 clients. You visit them maybe 4 times a week.
Right.
Charging around, say, $15 a visit. That alone could bring in something like $2,000 a month.
Wow, okay. And how much work is that, roughly?
Well, if each visit takes about half an hour, including travel, maybe 20 hours a week-ish.
That's not bad for $2,000 a month on the side.
Not at all. And the source suggests that if you keep at it, build it up, you could potentially be looking at like $50,000, maybe even $60,000 a year.
So there's a really clear link between the hours you put in and what you get out.
Correctly. But, and this is important, the source stresses that you have to maintain that quality. Your reputation is everything.
Makes sense. Can't slack off when someone's trusting you with their pet.
Exactly. And they also mention premium pricing. Those early morning walks, late night visits, holidays. People will pay extra for that convenience.
Ah, good point. Peace of mind for their furry family members.
Right. And to really show the potential, there's this anecdote in the source.
Oh, yeah.
About a pet sitter who, get this, earned $21,000.
Whoa.
In just 3 weeks, looking after 6 pets while the owners were away on a long trip.
$21,000 in 3 weeks. That's serious money, but sounds intense.
Extremely intense. And that's the flip side the source brings up. Yeah, the money was great, but the sitter found it completely exhausting.
I bet. Always on call, basically.
Yep. Living at other people's houses, away from her own life. She actually decided it just wasn't sustainable for her long term.
So it raises that question, doesn't it? How do you scale these things without burning yourself out?
It's a crucial balance. You have to figure out the trade-offs, what works for you.
Interesting point, too. The source mentions something about age, like people over 40 maybe having an easier time starting out in pet sitting.
Yeah, they do touch on that. The idea seems to be about perceived trust.
Right, like homeowners might feel more comfortable giving house keys to someone who seems a bit more, settled or experienced.
Potentially. It's about that perception of responsibility, especially when it involves access to someone's home and caring for a beloved pet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And speaking of responsibility, the source hammers home the practical stuff. Insurance and bonding. You absolutely need it.
Right, the not-so-glamorous side. How much does that usually cost?
Basic insurance might be a few $100 a year. Bonding, maybe another couple hundred on top of that. It protects everyone involved.
And they mentioned hold harmless agreements, too.
Yeah, basically contracts spelling out liability just in case something unexpected happens. But honestly, building that loyal client base through good service is your best protection in many ways.
Okay, good advice. So moving from pets to plants. Lawn care.
Yeah. Lawn care, another classic low-investment startup.
The source talks about how easy it is to begin, like really basic. Mention someone starting with just an electric mower and a super long cord.
Right. It really emphasizes that low barrier.
Yeah.
And they give this fascinating historical perspective.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Someone earning $7,000 a year mowing lawns back in 1972 as a 15-year-old.
Wow, $17.72. That was real money then.
It really was. Apparently comparable to some average adult salaries at the time. Shows how valued even basic services can be.
That's wild. So fast forward to today. What's the potential now?
Considerably higher, as you'd expect. The source suggests a solo operator really hustling could potentially gross around $100,000 a year.
100 grand mowing lawns.
Gross, yeah. Maybe netting closer to $75,000 after expenses. But
Big buck.
big but. The expenses are higher now, too. You need decent equipment, probably a truck, and definitely insurance.
Insurance again. Non-negotiable, you think?
Absolutely. The source makes that clear. Way too much liability risk today to operate without it. Protects you, protects the homeowner if, say, a rock flies out and breaks a window.
Gotcha. Okay, so lawn care. What's next on the list? Handyman services.
Yep. Handyman work. The source kind of positions it like general contracting, but focused on smaller, shorter jobs around the house.
Like what sort of things?
Oh, installing ceiling fans, maybe swapping out a dishwasher, fixing a leaky tap, painting a room, repairing a bit of fence. All those odd jobs people need done.
Stuff homeowners don't have the time, tools, or maybe the skills for.
Exactly. And that highlights what you need. The practical skills, obviously,
Right.
but also the right tools, reliable transport to get to jobs.
And knowledge. Knowing how to do things properly and safely.
Crucial. And like the others, insurance and bonding are essential here too. You're working in people's homes, often on plumbing or electrical systems.
Right. Makes sense. And the earning potential. Is it similar to lawn care?
It's in a similar ballpark, yeah. The source suggests a good handyman, someone reliable with good word-of-mouth referrals, could gross maybe $60,000 to $75,000.
And net. After tools, insurance, gas.
Maybe around $50,000. It depends on your expenses and how efficiently you run things, of course.
Okay, so looking at pet sitting, lawn care, handyman, what's the common thread here? What are the big takeaways?
Well, a few things stand out. Success really seems to hinge on your reliability, your dedication, showing up when you say you will.
Building that trust.
Building trust, exactly. That's huge. And then there's the practical side. The source mentions a lot of these can be cash businesses, which means you have to be diligent about tracking income for taxes. Self-employment tax is a real thing.
Good point. Easy to overlook that.
Yeah.
The source also contrasts different ways of starting a business.
Yeah, it draws a line between, like, jumping in with a big loan and lots of investment versus this slower, more methodical approach.
And it leans towards the slow and steady.
Definitely seems to recommend it. Less risk. Test the waters. A lot of people start these things on the side while they still have a day job.
Use your existing paycheck to fund the initial small costs. See if it works.
Exactly. And it helps you figure out if it's just, a way to make extra cash, like walking the neighbor's dog sometimes, or if you want to build it into a proper formal business.
Right. There's a difference in commitment and structure.
Yeah.
Okay. Shifting gears a bit. The source talks about musicians.
Yeah, it brings in a personal example, actually. Earning pocket money, playing drums.
How much pocket money are we talking?
Around $4,000 a year, doing maybe 40 gigs at about $100 each. So clearly needs talent, but the income can be pretty variable.
Depends on getting the gigs.
For sure. But then they mention another musician, someone retired, who's pulling in $40,000 a year playing local gigs.
40 grand. Wow. That's more than pocket money.
Right. For this person, its serious disposable income adds a lot to their retirement lifestyle. It shows how a passion, if you've got the skill, can still generate real income.
But it's not just labor, is it? Musicians have costs.
Oh, yeah. The source points that out. Instruments aren't cheap, neither is equipment like amps and PA systems. Plus, maybe marketing, getting your name out there. There are definitely overheads.
Okay. What about online businesses? The source touches on those too, right?
Yeah.
Especially low investment ones.
It makes a useful distinction, though. Selling your old junk on eBay.
Like that tennis racket example they used.
Yeah, selling one unused racket. That's different from setting up a consistent online selling business.
Right. One is clearing clutter. The other is trying to build revenue.
Exactly. So they talk about platforms like Amazon. Setting up a seller account might cost, $40 a month?
Something like that.
So the entry cost is low and the potential reach is huge.
But always a bet.
Always. There are challenges. Platform fees, dealing with customer service, returns. It's work. And again, taxes on those sales.
Gotcha. Online selling isn't necessarily easy money, even if the startup cost is low.
Definitely not passive income, usually. Okay, and finally, the source gets into content creation. Writing, podcasting, audiobooks.
As low-cost entry points.
Yeah, particularly things like self-publishing. Amazon's KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, makes it really accessible.
And the stigma around self-publishing isn't what it used to be, is it?
Not at all. It's a totally viable path now. And audiobooks are huge.
The source seemed keen on audiobooks.
Yeah, mentions they often sell better than the ebook versions. Shared a personal story about getting books narrated.
Right. Talked about different deals with narrators, profit sharing versus flat fees, and how long it can take.
Sometimes months to get the final audio back.
Yeah.
Quality varies too. Got to choose your narrator carefully.
And they had this interesting idea about using a podcast to promote an audiobook.
Yeah, like making each chapter an episode or a segment. Clever cross-promotion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Leverage the content you already have.
They also mentioned writing short how-to type ebooks, selling them cheap, volume play.
And AI tools for podcasting.
Briefly, yeah. Mentioned Google's Notebook LM as something that could help create podcast content quickly and cheaply, and just the general ways podcasts make money, ads, subscriptions, basic monetization models.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Pet sitting, lawns, handyman work, music, online sales, content creation. Bringing it all together, what's the main message from this deep dive?
I think the core idea is just how many accessible ways there are to generate income if you're willing to put in the work, even without a big chunk of startup cash.
Right. It spans so many different interests and levels of commitment.
Exactly. And it broadens the idea of what a business is. It doesn't have to be some huge, complex thing. It can be a well-run side hustle, too.
It really emphasizes the value of your own skills, your time, your effort.
Your sweat equity.
So I guess the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Think about the skills you already have, the effort you're capable of. Could any of that be the start of your own, maybe surprisingly profitable venture?
Yeah, even if it starts really small and just grows organically.
What underutilized talents might you have just sitting there? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.